Commander Hannah Park stared at the view screen as the strange vessel drifted closer to the Pathfinder *. Its organic-looking hull pulsed with faint blue light, unlike anything humanity had encountered during their 50 years of space exploration. Life signs? She asked, glancing at Science Officer Ta Kim. Dozens, but very weak, Tai replied, adjusting his instruments. They appear to be in some kind of stasis. Wait, I'm detecting movement now. The alien ship's outer membrane parted, revealing slender beings with translucent skin that shifted colors like the northern lights. Their large, dark eyes held an intelligence that transcended language barriers. I'm Captain Hannah Park of the Earth exploration vessel Pathfinder *, she said, activating the universal translator. We come in peace. The tallest alien stepped forward. I am Rill, last elder of the Liliri. We seek sanctuary. They come for us. Before Hannah could ask who they were, long-range sensors blared warnings. 3 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, weapons charged. Attention Earth vessel, a harsh voice transmitted. The creatures you harbor are galactic contaminants. Surrender them immediately. Hannah felt a gentle brush against her consciousness. The Liliri, sharing images of their persecution across a dozen star systems. These fragile beings possessed extraordinary empathic abilities that allowed them to absorb and transform emotional trauma. For this gift, they had been branded dangerous by the Galactic Council. She made her decision instantly. Request denied. The Liliri are under Earth's protection now. The bridge fell silent. Her crew exchanged worried glances, but no one spoke against her decision. The warships loomed large on the view screen, their weapon systems glowing with energy. Captain, they're charging main cannons, warned Security Chief Jun, his fingers dancing across the tactical display. Our shields won't hold against that kind of firepower. Hannah nodded, her face calm despite the danger. Plot an escape vector to Earth. Maximum speed. The Liliri Elder Rill moved closer to Hannah, his translucent body glowing with soft blue light. Captain, we do not wish to bring destruction to your people. Perhaps we should. We don't abandon those who need help, Hannah interrupted firmly. That's not who we are. The alien's skin rippled with emotion, shifting to a deep purple. In all our wandering, no species has stood against the Council for us. The harsh voice from the warships cut through again. This is your final warning. The Liliri are not what they appear. They will infect your people with their empathic invasion. Surrender them now, or be destroyed alongside them. Hannah turned to Communications Officer Yun. Open a channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Within moments, Admiral Sung's face appeared on screen. His expression darkened as Hannah quickly explained the situation. You realize what you're asking, Captain? The Admiral asked, his voice grave. We have no treaties with this Galactic Council. This could mean war. I understand, sir, Hannah replied. But I've seen inside their minds. The Liliri are refugees, not invaders. They're being hunted because of abilities they cannot help having. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Around him, Earth Command staff rushed back and forth, already responding to the crisis. The Council warships are moving to intercept, Jun reported. Firing range in 3 minutes. Hannah waited, her heart pounding. Everything depended on the next few words from Earth Command. Admiral Sung finally nodded. Bring them home, Captain. We'll be ready. Relief washed over Hannah. Thank you, sir. She turned to her navigation officer. Sue, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. The Pathfinder lurched forward, engines straining as it accelerated away from the pursuing warships. The alien vessels followed, their massive engines glowing hot as they gave chase. They're gaining on us, Jun reported grimly. Our engines can't match their speed. Rill approached Hannah again, his body now pulsing with light. Captain, we may be able to help. Our ship was damaged, but its drive core remains functional. If your engineers could adapt it. Hannah didn't hesitate. Chief Engineer Min, report to the shuttle bay. We're bringing aboard alien technology. Within 20 minutes, Min and his team had retrieved the strange glowing core from the Loliri vessel. Under Rill's guidance, they worked frantically to integrate it with the Pathfinder's systems. It's like nothing I've ever seen, Min reported over the comm. It doesn't use conventional energy. It's somehow powered by emotional energy. Rill nodded. The core resonates with the collective emotional state of our people. In times of great need, our fear and hope combine to create tremendous energy. Min looked skeptical, but continued working. If we can link it to our propulsion systems, there, connection established. The ship shuddered as new energy flowed through its systems. On the bridge, the control panels flickered and then glowed with unusual brightness. The alien ships are still gaining, Jun reported. Weapons lock in 30 seconds. Hannah turned to Rill. If your technology works on emotional energy, then we need to give it something to work with. She addressed the entire crew through the ship-wide comm system. Everyone, the Loliri need our help. Their ship's core runs on emotional energy. Think about what we're fighting for. The right to offer sanctuary. The duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Let them feel our determination. Throughout the ship, the crew paused in their duties, focusing their thoughts. The Loliri began to glow brighter, their skin shimmering with increased luminosity. The engine core in engineering pulsed with blinding light. Suddenly, the Pathfinder shot forward with unbelievable speed, leaving the pursuing warships far behind. It's working, Sue exclaimed. Speed exceeding our maximum capabilities by 300%. The ship streaked toward Earth, riding a wave of combined human determination and Loliri empathic technology. Behind them, the Council warships fell further behind, unable to match their sudden burst of speed. Rill's body glowed with gratitude as he addressed Hannah. You have done what no one else would dare, but the Council will not stop. They fear us because we can reveal the truth of their emotions, both the good and the terrible. They fear what we might uncover. Hannah nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. They're afraid of facing their own feelings, their own trauma. And instead of dealing with it, they'd rather eliminate those who could help them heal. Yes, Rill said simply. For centuries, it has been easier to hunt us than to heal. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Hannah knew the real challenge was just beginning. They had saved the Loliri for now, but they had also thrust humanity into the middle of an ancient galactic conflict. Soon, they would have to convince Earth's leaders to stand firm against the Council's demands. But looking at the grateful faces of the Loliri, their skin glowing with hope for the first time in generations, Hannah knew it was worth the risk. Sometimes the right choice was also the hardest one. Welcome to Earth, she said to Rill. Let's show humanity what you can really do. The emergency council chamber under Sewell buzzed with tension. 50 of Earth's most powerful leaders sat around a circular table, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of data screens. Defense Minister Jin Soo couldn't sit still. He paced back and forth, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. You've started an interstellar incident, Jin said, glaring at Commander Hannah Park. These council species have technology centuries beyond ours. Hannah stood her ground. Minister, I made the only moral choice possible. The Loliri would have been destroyed. Ambassador Dali raised his hand for calm. Unlike the others, he seemed relaxed, almost thoughtful. Yet they haven't attacked. They're waiting, which gives us time to understand why peaceful empaths are considered such a threat. The world president, Kyung Han, looked up from her notes. What do we know about this galactic council? Dr. Min Kang, head of xenobiology, tapped on her tablet. Images of various alien species appeared on the main screen. The council includes 17 advanced civilizations. According to the Loliri, they've been a governing body for nearly 3,000 years. And they unanimously reject the Loliri, President Kyung asked. Not unanimously, Min replied. The Loliri say several smaller species have tried to help them over the centuries. Those species were either forced to comply or quarantined from galactic society. Jin slammed his hand on the table. Then we know what's coming. We can't possibly stand against 17 advanced civilizations. The room erupted in arguments. Some leaders agreed with Jin, urging immediate surrender of the Liliri. Others demanded more information before making any decision. Day listened to the chaos for a moment, then stood up. The room gradually fell silent. "I suggest we hear directly from our guests," he said simply. The doors opened, and Rill entered with 2 other Liliri. Their translucent bodies glowed softly in the dim room. Some leaders gasped. This was their first time seeing the aliens in person. Rill bowed respectfully. "We thank you for your protection. It has been a very long time since any species showed us such kindness. Tell us why the Council fears you," Day asked gently. Rill's skin rippled, changing from blue to a soft green. "We are empaths. We can feel the emotions of others as if they were our own. But more than this, we can help process emotional pain. Throughout history, we've been healers, helping species overcome trauma." "That doesn't sound threatening," President Kyung noted. Rill's 2 companions moved closer together, as if seeking comfort. "Not to individuals, but to empires built on fear and control. We are very dangerous indeed." Before Rill could continue, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The main screen switched to an orbital view showing 3 massive ships entering Earth's atmosphere. "They're here," Jin whispered. 3 days later, the Galactic Council sent a formal delegation to Earth. Their ships hovered over major cities worldwide, a not-so-subtle show of power. Their main representative, a towering reptilian being named Voss, stood before the United Nations General Assembly, addressing world leaders with cold precision. Voss stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled skin gleaming under the lights. His voice rumbled through the hall, translated by devices that seemed far more advanced than anything humans had created. "The Liliri are not what they appear," Voss explained, yellow eyes scanning the crowded room. "Their empathic abilities don't merely sense emotions, they extract them. Entire civilizations have lost cultural identity after Liliri interference." Murmurs ran through the assembly. Dad watched as fear spread across the faces of many leaders. "That contradicts everything we've observed," argued Dr. Min Kang, stepping up to the podium. "Our studies show they process and transform emotional trauma, not steal identity." Voss's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "Naive humans, you've known these creatures for mere days. The Council has dealt with them for millennia." Day approached the microphone next. "If I may ask, Representative Voss, can you provide specific examples of civilizations harmed by the Liliri?" Voss hesitated, just briefly. "The Galactic Council has documented numerous cases. This information is classified for security reasons." "How convenient," Daz said quietly, but his microphone caught the words. Voss's scales darkened with what seemed like anger. "You are newcomers to the galactic community. You do not understand the dangers. You have 1 standard month to surrender the Liliri or face permanent quarantine from galactic society, and possibly more direct consequences." The threat hung in the air like a physical thing. President Kyung stepped up next. "We appreciate your warning, Representative Voss. Earth will consider your position carefully." After the assembly ended, Day found himself alone in a small meeting room with Minister Jin and President Kyung. "We can't fight them," Jin said flatly. "Did you see their ships? Their technology is beyond our comprehension." Kyung looked troubled, but Voss provided no real evidence against the Liliri, only threats. "I need more time with the Liliri," Day suggested. "Something doesn't add up." Later that evening, Day met with Rill in the embassy gardens. The Liliri seemed to enjoy the trees and flowers, their skin taking on greener hues as they walked among the plants. "We understand if you must send us away," Rill said softly. "Many civilizations before you made the same choice." "That's not how we do things," Day replied firmly. "But I need to understand. Why are you really being hunted? Rill's skin darkened to deep indigo, almost black. The change was dramatic and unsettling. Because powerful empires cannot maintain control when the emotional wounds they've inflicted are brought to light. We don't steal emotions. We reveal truth. Day sat on a stone bench, inviting Rill to join him. Explain, please. The Council's largest empires have conquered many worlds, Rill continued. They maintain control through fear and manipulation. But when we heal emotional trauma, we bring suppressed feelings to the surface. People remember their true selves. They question authority. They resist control. You make oppressed people harder to control, Daz said, understanding dawning. Yes, and worse from their perspective. We can sense the emotional state of leaders too. We can tell when they lie, when they hide cruelty behind beautiful words. Rill's skin lightened slightly. The Council fears us because we can unveil the suffering behind their power. Day thought for a long moment. Can you show me? Can you demonstrate this ability? Rill seemed hesitant. It requires connection. Trust. It is intimate. I need to understand what we're fighting for, Day said simply. Rill nodded and slowly extended a slender hand. Day took it. Immediately, warmth flowed up his arm and into his chest. Memories surfaced. His childhood fears, his grief when his father died, his anxiety about the current crisis. But as each emotion rose, it seemed to pass through him, becoming lighter, clearer. This is what they fear, Dai whispered, amazed by the sense of peace spreading through him. No, Rill replied gently. They fear what would happen if we did this with someone who has committed terrible acts. The emotions that would surface then would be revealing. Day opened his eyes as the connection faded. You don't just heal. You expose. Truth is both healing and dangerous, Rill said, especially to those who build power on lies. The next morning, Day called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. His eyes were clear, his purpose set. I believe the Liliri, he announced, and I believe we must protect them, not just because it's right, but because what they represent. Emotional honesty, healing, truth, these are values worth defending. Even against the entire Galactic Council, Jin asked. Especially against those who would destroy others to hide their own crimes, Day replied. If we surrender the Liliri now, we surrender something of ourselves too. One by one, the Earth's leaders voted. The decision was made. Earth would stand with the Liliri, whatever the cost. Outside the council chamber, Rill waited. When Day emerged and shared the news, the Liliri's skin glowed with the brightest blue light Day had ever seen. No one has ever stood for us like this, Rill said, emotion making his voice tremble. No matter what happens next, you have already changed everything. Snow fell gently outside the large windows of the Mountain Research Facility near Pyeongchang. Inside, warmth and purpose filled the air. Dr. Yoon Song moved quickly through the busy hallways, nodding to researchers and Liliri who worked side by side. After 2 weeks of study, the facility had become a place of discovery and hope. Yoon checked her tablet as she walked. New data streamed in constantly as her team documented every aspect of Liliri biology and culture. The council's deadline loomed over them all, but here, in this peaceful mountain setting, it sometimes felt distant. She entered the main observation room where 5 military officers waited. Their serious faces and stiff postures contrasted with the scientists' excitement. Thank you for coming, General Kwan, Yoon said, bowing slightly to the highest-ranking officer. I believe what we'll show you today will help Earth's defense planning. General Ho Kwan nodded curtly. We need information, not miracles. Doctor, the council ship's now number 15. Then let me share what we've learned, Yoon said, bringing up images on the large screen. They showed Liliri internal biology, shifting patterns of light moving through their translucent bodies. Their empathic abilities evolved as a survival mechanism, Yoon explained to the military observers. Their homeworld had such extreme climate shifts that they needed perfect cooperation to survive. She swiped to show a harsh landscape with multiple suns and violent storms. The Liliri developed a form of collective consciousness to coordinate during disasters. This evolved into their healing abilities. Fascinating biology lesson, one officer said impatiently. But why would advanced civilizations fear them? Asked General Ho Quan. Instead of answering directly, Yoon gestured toward the observation window where several Liliri worked alongside human therapists. Watch. Inside the adjoining room, a veteran with severe PTSD sat with a Liliri named Nim. The soldier's face was tight with pain, his hands clenched into fists on his knees. He had not slept properly in years, haunted by memories of a battlefield massacre. Nim sat across from him, speaking softly. The soldier nodded, and Nim gently placed translucent hands on the man's shoulders. Immediately, something strange happened. Dark energy seemed to form between them, swirling like storm clouds. "What is that?" asked General Quan, leaning forward. "Emotional trauma made visible," Yoon explained. "Somehow, the Liliri can physically manifest psychological pain." They watched in silence as the Liliri absorbed the darkness, drawing it into their body. Inside Nim's translucent form, the darkness churned and changed. The Liliri's internal lights worked on the darkness, breaking it down, transforming it. Then, gradually, soft blue light flowed back into the soldier. The change in the man was immediate and striking. His rigid posture relaxed. His breathing deepened. Tears flowed freely down his face, but his expression was one of release, not suffering. "They metabolize trauma," Yoon said. "They don't remove memories, but they transform the emotional pain attached to them." Now imagine you're a civilization built on conquest and subjugation. Would you want beings who can reveal the emotional wreckage you've caused? Who can heal those you've oppressed? The military observers exchanged glances. Understanding dawned in their eyes. "A controlled population needs to remain traumatized," General Quan said quietly. "Fear keeps people in line." "Exactly," Yoon nodded. "The Liliri don't just heal individuals. They could potentially heal entire populations suffering under oppressive regimes." Intelligence Officer Sun Jae entered with a grim expression. "The Council fleet has grown to 20 ships. We estimate we have 10 days before they lose patience." Yoon nodded. "Then we need to show them what humanity and the Liliri can accomplish together." Later that day, Yoon met with Ril and 2 other Liliri elders in her office. Screens around them showed data from their research. "Your abilities are even more remarkable than we first understood," Yoon told them. "But we need to know more about your limitations. How many people can you help at once? Does distance affect your abilities?" Ril's skin rippled with soft purple light. "Individually, we can help one person at a time. But together, connected, we can reach many more." "Connected? How?" Yoon asked, intrigued. The 3 Liliri moved closer together. Where their arms touched, their skin merged slightly, creating a seamless connection. Their individual light patterns synchronized into a single, stronger glow. "We can form networks," Ril explained. "In ancient times, our entire species would connect to face great disasters." Yoon leaned forward, excitement building. "And in these networks, your abilities are stronger, more wide-reaching." "Much stronger," Ril confirmed. "But it has been generations since we attempted a full connection. We have been too few, too scattered." Hope sparked in Yoon's mind. What if you could connect with humans somehow? Could your abilities extend through such a partnership? The Liliri exchanged looks, their skin shifting through shades of surprise and curiosity. "It has never been attempted," Ril said cautiously. "The connection requires compatible neural patterns." "Let me try," Yoon offered immediately. The preparation took hours. Yoon sat cross-legged on a soft mat, 3 Liliri forming a circle around her. Monitoring equipment beeped softly in the background, recording everything. "Focus on a strong emotion," Ril instructed. "Something that defines you. Yoon closed her eyes, thinking of her passion for discovery, for understanding the unknown. She felt the Liliri's cool hands touch her shoulders, her arms. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, warmth spread through her body. Colors swirled behind her closed eyelids. She felt herself expanding somehow, her awareness stretching beyond her physical form. And then she felt them. The Liliri consciousness, gentle and ancient. Their thoughts weren't words but feelings, impressions, memories spanning centuries. She saw their homeworld through their eyes, felt their long exile and constant fear. She understood them in a way no amount of research could provide. More surprisingly, they understood her. She felt her own memories being explored with gentle curiosity, her childhood dreams, her years of study, her hope for the future. When the connection finally broke, Yoon found herself crying. The Liliri too seemed moved, their skin pulsing with new patterns of light. It worked, Ril said, wonder in his voice. We connected with a human. What does this mean? Yoon asked, still trying to process the experience. It means hope, Ril replied. If we can connect with humans, perhaps we can show the Council directly what we truly are, not by telling them, but by letting them feel it. Over the next days, more humans volunteered. Scientists, soldiers, politicians, each experienced the connection with the Liliri. Each emerged changed, with a deeper understanding not just of the aliens but of themselves. General Kwan, after his own connection session, stood silently by the window, watching snow fall on the mountains. I've seen what we're fighting for, he said finally to Yoon. It's not just about protecting the Liliri. It's about protecting this possibility, this healing, for everyone, including the Council species. Yoon asked. Especially them, Kwan said, surprising her. They may be the ones who need it most. As the Council ships continued to gather in Earth's orbit, Yoon and her team worked tirelessly to document everything they learned. If diplomacy failed, the world needed to know what would be lost. But Yoon held on to hope. The connection she had experienced showed her something profound. That understanding could bridge even the widest gaps between species, if they could only make the Council see what she had seen, feel what she had felt. 7 days left. Sun reported the next morning. The Council has issued their final warning. Then we have 7 days to change everything, Yoon replied. Let's get to work. Commander Jun Park rubbed his tired eyes as he walked through the underground bunker. For the past week, he had barely slept. None of them had. The deadline from the Galactic Council was only 3 days away. Status report, he called out, entering the main control room. The large circular chamber hummed with activity. Humans in military uniforms and lab coats worked side by side with Liliri. Their combined efforts had transformed the old Missile Command Center into something entirely new. Jun had never seen such frantic innovation. In bunkers across the globe, human engineers worked alongside Liliri to integrate their empathic abilities into Earth's defensive systems. What they couldn't match in technology, they hoped to balance with something the Council didn't expect. Technician Hyun-Lee looked up from a complex control panel. Beside her, a Liliri named Tev adjusted crystalline structures that somehow interfaced with Earth's electronics. The empath shield is operational, reported Hyun, her face showing both exhaustion and pride. We've completed the final calibration tests. It won't stop their weapons, but it will project our collective emotional state throughout their fleet. Jun approached the main display, studying the network of satellites and ground stations now linked to the Liliri connection chambers. It was unlike any defense system Earth had ever built. And what state is that? Jun asked, still uncertain how emotions could possibly defend against advanced alien weapons. Hyun smiled, exchanging a look with Tev. Determination, compassion, and absolute resolve. We don't aim to fight, Tev added, his translucent skin glowing softly. We aim to be understood. Jun nodded slowly. After witnessing what the Liliri could do, he had come to believe this might actually work. Conventional weapons would be useless against the Council's technology. Their only hope was something unexpected. "The Council fleet has moved closer," announced Officer Q from the monitoring station. "5 scout ships have broken formation." Jun straightened his uniform. "This is it. Activate the shield." Hyun's fingers flew across her controls. Around the world, 50 connection chambers activated simultaneously. In each one, 5 Liliri joined hands with 5 humans, forming a living network. Their combined empathic abilities, amplified by Dr. Yoon's breakthrough technologies, flowed into the shield system. On the main screen, a blue wave spread outward from Earth, invisible to normal sensors, but registering strongly on the special equipment they had developed. "Shield at full power," Hyun reported. "The emotional projection is stable." Jun gripped the edge of the command console. "Now we wait." They didn't wait long. The 5 scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere within minutes, their weapons systems active. They followed standard attack formation, spreading out to target major cities. But when they hit the empathic shield, something unexpected happened. Inside the lead scout ship, Captain Mez of the Aurelian species suddenly clutched his head. Images and feelings flooded his mind. Centuries of Liliri suffering, their peaceful intentions, their unique gift for healing. Alongside these came human emotions: fierce protectiveness, determination to stand by the innocent, and a deep compassion that transcended species. "Captain, are you well?" his second-in-command asked, alarmed. Mez could barely speak. The emotional clarity was overwhelming. For the first time, he felt the Liliri's perspective directly, without the Council's filtering. He saw the truth they had hidden from his people. "Abort the approach," he ordered suddenly. "Captain, abort," Mez shouted. "Return to the fleet immediately." 3 of the scout ships turned back immediately, their pilots experiencing the same revelation. But 2 ships continued forward, landing in empty fields outside Seoul. Their weapons remained inactive. In the command bunker, Jun stared at the screen in disbelief. "They're powering down," Ku reported. "No attack preparations." "They're requesting to speak with the Liliri," Jun told his superiors over the secure line, amazed. "Something's changing." Within an hour, the 2 ships' crews had been escorted to a neutral meeting site. The aliens, a mix of species Jun had never seen before, appeared disoriented but peaceful. "We felt it," one of them said through a translator. "We felt the truth. The Council has been lying to us for generations." On the Council mothership in orbit, the atmosphere had grown tense. The returned scout ships reported the strange empathic field, but the ship's captains refused to proceed with the attack plan. "They've been compromised," Voss insisted, his reptilian scales darkening with rage. "This is exactly what the Liliri do. They infect minds with their emotional manipulation." But others in the Council leadership weren't so certain. Admiral Zhen, whose species had once suffered persecution before joining the Council, studied the reports with growing concern. "The field doesn't seem to control minds," she noted. "It simply shares experience directly, without words to misinterpret." "That's how it begins," Voss hissed. "First understanding, then sympathy, then rebellion. We've seen this pattern before." "Have we?" questioned another Council member. "Or is that what we've been told?" Divisions were forming. Species who had suffered their own historical persecutions began questioning the campaign against the Liliri. Some even wondered aloud if they had been manipulated by the Council's dominant species. Voss saw his control slipping. For centuries, his people had led the Council, shaping policy to maintain their position of power. The Liliri had always been a threat to that order. If other species began to question, began to feel. "Enough debate," he declared. "Prepare the main fleet. This empathic interference proves their danger." Back on Earth, Jun received reports of the Council's internal conflict. It was a hopeful sign, but not enough. The main fleet still vastly outmatched Earth's defenses. "We need to strengthen the shield," Jun told his team. "And we need to expand its reach." Rill, who had been observing quietly, stepped forward. "There is a way. Our ancestors had a method for amplifying our collective connection during great crisis. It required many Liliri working as one. But what? Jun asked. It carried risk. The deeper the connection, the more we feel. Both joy and pain flow freely. Some Liliri were lost, overwhelmed by the emotional current. Jun understood immediately. You're talking about a sacrifice. Ril's skin rippled with blue and purple. Not necessarily. With human partners to anchor us, we might all survive. But the risk remains. Hyun looked up from her station. I volunteer. One by one, others in the room stepped forward. Jun felt pride swell in his chest. This was humanity at its best, facing impossible odds with courage and compassion. We have less than 48 hours, Jun said. Let's modify the shield. As the Earth prepared for its greatest test, the Liliri taught humans their deepest connection methods. In chambers around the world, human Liliri pairs practiced joining their minds completely, creating bridges of perfect understanding. Each pairing was exhausting, sometimes painful, but the results were clear. The empathic shield grew stronger with each successful connection. Its reach extended further into space, touching more of the Council fleet. And with each ship it reached, more doubt spread among the Council forces. On the evening before the deadline, Jun stood at the window of the command bunker's upper level, looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Council fleet was preparing its final approach. Tomorrow would determine not just the fate of the Liliri, but possibly the future of human involvement in galactic society. Are we ready? He asked Hyun, who had joined him. She looked tired but determined. As ready as we can be. The enhanced shield will activate at full power when they enter Earth's orbit. And the risks to the volunteers. Hyun's expression softened. Everyone knows what might happen. They still chose to participate. Jun nodded, pride and fear mixing in his heart. Then we face tomorrow together. As dawn broke across Earth, the Council fleet began its approach. The empath shield waited, ready to project not weapons, but understanding. Humanity's most powerful defense against hatred and fear. Ambassador Dali tried to keep his hands from shaking as the shuttle docked with the enormous Council mothership. Through the small window, he could see the vast hangar bay waiting to receive them. It was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. Are you certain about this? Asked Commander Hana Park, who sat beside him. We're placing ourselves at their mercy. Day nodded. Sometimes the greatest power comes from vulnerability. Behind them sat Ril and 4 other Liliri elders. Their skin pulsed with nervous blue light, but they remained calm. After centuries of running, they were finally facing their pursuers. The shuttle doors opened. Dad led the small group into the hangar. Armed guards from various species formed a path leading to a large circular chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, decorated with symbols representing the Council's member worlds. In the center of the chamber stood Voss, his reptilian form towering over everyone. His yellow eyes fixed on the humans with cold calculation. You are invited to surrender the Liliri, Voss said, his voice echoing through the chamber, not to bring them here. Day stepped forward. We came to propose a different solution, one that serves everyone's interests. There is nothing to discuss, Voss replied sharply. The Council's decision regarding the Liliri was made long ago. Yet here we stand, Dai countered. On your ship, surrounded by Council representatives. It seems many wish to hear what we have to say. Voss looked around the chamber. Indeed, representatives from 27 species had gathered. Many appeared curious rather than hostile. Speak then, Voss said reluctantly. But know that this changes nothing. Ambassador Dali stood on the Council mothership's bridge beside Ril, facing representatives from 27 species. What had begun as a trial had transformed into an unprecedented summit. For weeks, humanity has sheltered the Liliri, Da began. In that time, we've learned much about them, and about ourselves. We've experienced their healing firsthand. We've seen not a threat, but a gift. Murmurs spread through the assembled aliens. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked skeptical. "Fine words," said a blue-skinned representative. "But the Liliri have deceived others before. Their empathic manipulations are well documented." "Are they?" Dai asked. "Or is that what you've been told? We don't ask you to trust the Liliri on faith. We invite you to experience what we have." Rill stepped forward, skin glowing softly. "For the first time, we offer full empathic connection, not to take your emotions, but to share understanding across all our kinds." The chamber erupted in concerned voices. This was unprecedented. The Liliri had never offered direct connection to council species before. 7 representatives immediately left in protest, unwilling even to consider such contact. The remaining 20, however, looked intrigued. They stepped forward slowly, forming a circle with the Liliri elders. "This is madness," Voss hissed. "Stop this immediately." But the connection had already begun. The Liliri joined hands, their skin merging slightly where they touched. They extended their free hands to the nearest alien representatives, who hesitantly took hold. Light pulsed through the Liliri, spreading to those they touched. The circle glowed with shared energy. Every face showed wonder, then concentration, then deeper emotion. What followed transcended language. Together, they experienced humanity's violent history and struggle to overcome division. They saw Earth's many wars, its painful path toward unity, its ongoing effort to build peace from diversity. They felt the Liliri's centuries of rejection and persistent compassion. They witnessed their homeworld's destruction, their endless flight from persecution, their refusal to abandon hope despite endless suffering. Most powerfully, they experienced the healing that occurred when humans and Liliri worked together. They felt the transformation of trauma into understanding, the release of ancient pain, the freedom that came with emotional honesty. The connection lasted less than 5 minutes, but contained lifetimes of experience. As it faded, the chamber fell completely silent. Many representatives wept openly. Even stoic species showed signs of profound impact. Some sat down, overwhelmed by what they had felt. "This," began one representative, struggling to find words, "this is not what we were told." Another turned to Voss. "You knew this. You knew what they truly offered and still hunted them." Voss's scales darkened with rage. "This emotional display proves nothing. They've manipulated your feelings, just as we warned." "No," said a small, gray-skinned being. "They shared truth. I felt it. My people were conquered by the Vossarians 3 centuries ago. I felt your species' pride in that conquest, the satisfaction of our subjugation.